Welcome to Life in the God Lane. This is a Bible study about keeping your life in God's lane. I'm Tom West. Hope you will subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell so you get notified every time I put something out. I put something out every day. And make comments. Give me thumbs up. Text this puppy to somebody. It could be very meaningful to them. And this is the power verses for the day for Tuesday, April the 19th. 2022, and I call this Trouble's Solution, Christ's Love. There are those who will leave the impression that you say yes to Christ and life is happiness and glee from then on. All problems are over. You know what that is? That is utterly ridiculous, and it's totally untrue. Everybody has problems, and they won't go away because you come to Christ. Sometimes you get a few more. In fact, that's how it works. Look at Romans 8:35 and 36. As we work our way through the phenomenal 8th chapter of Romans. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall trouble, or hardship, or persecution, or famine, or nakedness, or danger, or sword? As it is written, for your sake we face death all day long. We are considered as sheep to be slaughtered. Notice what he mentions. Some of the stuff he mentions. Trouble, hardship, persecution, famine, nakedness, along with danger from the sword. He talks about facing death all day long and being considered as sheep to be slaughtered. And notice that he says those things to God. For your sake, God, we face all these things. See, sometimes because you sell out to the Lord, you can bump into some bumps in the road that might not have otherwise been there. And that's a quote of that last verse is a quote of Psalm 44, verse 22. So we can face sword and even death, even tough times for Christ's sake. Imagine something right now. This is very pertinent. Imagine being a Christ follower in Mariupol, Ukraine right now. Whoa, some terrible things going on there. There's a good chance of being tortured and killed by Russian soldiers. That's what's going on with Mariupol people in that town in Ukraine. I hope I'm saying it right. So where's the hope? Well, verse 35a says this, who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? The answer is the trouble, hardship, persecution, famine, nakedness, danger, or the sword, death, violence. None of those things. None of those things can separate you from the love of Christ. Sat across from a man one night who came home from work, and his wife and all of her belongings were gone. And she left him a note saying that she would not be back. He was devastated. I was his pastor and he called me. I came over. I held his hands, weeping and praying together and listening to him. That went on for over 2 hours. It's very intense. One of the most intense things I've ever been through. In fact, the next day my arms hurt. No one nor anything could separate him from the love of Christ. I mean, he had his problems too, believe me. Hard times, yes. But you know what? He made it. He made it because he hung on to Christ. The love of Christ was with him. How? No one could separate him from the love of Christ. None of the problems could separate him. None of the pain, none of the heartache could separate him from the love of Christ. Nothing. Death can't. Because you end up in the presence of Christ. So every day, get up, dress up, show up, and never give up. And no matter what comes up, nothing can separate you from the love of Christ. If you're just hanging in there, hang on to Christ and don't let go, and the love of Christ will pull you through. Hope you hang on to that today, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bless your heart.